Welcome to my channel. For more videos, please remember to like and subscribe. The man trusted the alien woman, opened the door. Now no one on the ship can sleep. Tom wasn't supposed to be on shift when the mysterious blinking started. He was supposed to be off duty, sitting in the mess hall, trying to pretend his coffee didn't taste like recycled radiator fluid. But no, Engineering Deck 4 had other plans, and blinking lights were a universal symbol aboard Argo's wing for, hey, come poke at this before it explodes. He arrived, still chewing a protein bar that claimed to be peanut butter and optimism, but mostly tasted like sand and betrayal. The blinking came from Vault 17B, a door he had never, ever touched, partly because it was labeled non-critical debris storage, and partly because it gave off the same vibes as an ancient cursed tomb. "Vault's blinking," Tom muttered into his wristband. "Observation confirmed," the ship's AI, Thespus, replied in iambic pentameter. "The vault is pulsing in a ghastly light. What mortal fool would tamper with its might?" Tom sighed. "We still doing Shakespeare, huh? My soul is trapped in verse eternal, friend, until the update that shall be my end." That probably meant yes. He scanned the panel. No diagnostics, no warning logs, no signs of activity, just the dull green pulse of the door light. Slow, steady, patient. He was tempted to ignore it, mark it as a glitch, and go back to arguing with the coffee dispenser. But then she walked in. Seris always moved like gravity was a suggestion. She wore the standard officer's uniform, but on her it looked like something woven from sleek nebula silk. The faint metallic hue of her skin shimmered under the overhead fluorescence, and her long ears twitched faintly when her gaze met his. Those ears always unnerved him, not in a bad way, just in a might be able to hear your heartbeat from 3 decks away kind of way. "You see it too," she said. No greeting, no preamble. Just those 3 words, like she was already halfway through a conversation with him in her mind. Tom shrugged. "Yeah, it's got a whole haunted washing machine energy. Should I hit it with a..." Seris approached the door and placed one hand gently on its surface. "It's not a malfunction." "Was hoping you'd say something reassuring like, yes, it's totally just a malfunction. Let's go get some fake lasagna." She looked at him then, her face calm in that unnerving Alari way. "I need you to open it." "Open? The door? That door?" Tom blinked. "You mean the one that's been sealed longer than the coffee machine's been sentient?" She nodded once. Tom folded his arms. "Okay, a couple of things. First, I like my sanity. Second, there's a rumor that door eats dreams. Third, if I open it and something crawls out with too many limbs and a taste for irony, I'm blaming you forever." "I understand," she said, "but I need you to trust me." Tom stared at her. He'd worked with Seris for 3 months. She was brilliant, efficient, and terrifyingly unflappable. But trust? That was a tall order, especially when it involved unlocking mystery doors during deep space boredom shifts. "I don't suppose you're going to explain why?" "No," she said. "Cool. Awesome. You're just a vault of secrets. Fitting, really." She didn't smile, but one ear did twitch slightly. Tom took that as encouragement. Or maybe it was an involuntary lie detector signal. He wasn't sure, but it was oddly comforting. With a dramatic sigh worthy of an underappreciated holodrama actor, Tom pulled up the access panel and began overriding the vault protocols. The system asked for credentials. He gave his. It asked for authorization. He gave his. Then it asked, "Are you sure?" 3 times. That was new. "Is it weird the door's second language is guilt?" "Yes," Seris said. A final confirmation prompt pulsed red, then turned green. With a hiss of pressure and the whine of ancient servos, Vault 17B creaked open. Nothing came out. No lights, no gusts of ghost wind, just the smell of ancient air and the quiet hum of the ship trying to pretend nothing weird had just happened. Tom shined a light inside. The vault was empty. Well, mostly. There was a crate in the center, sealed in black metal with no markings. Around it, faint patterns were etched into the floor, like circuitry designed by someone who had very strong feelings about geometry and madness. "Now I'm officially creeped out," he muttered. Seris stepped forward and placed a small device on the floor just outside the threshold. It emitted a soft blue glow and made a faint humming noise like a cat meditating. "This will delay the effects," she said. "Effects?" She turned to him. "You did well. I'm sorry." "That's ominous and not at all comforting." "I didn't have a choice." Before Tom could say, "Wait, what do you mean by?" the ship's lights flickered. Once, twice, Then every crew member on board suddenly reported the same thing, a sensation like falling backward through their own skulls. Nausea. A momentary whisper in their ears, different words for everyone, all in voices they hadn't heard in years. Tom clutched the wall as the deck seemed to sway beneath him. Okay, what did we just wake up? Seris was staring into the vault. Her face had gone pale, paler than usual, and her ears were pulled back tight. It's awake, she said quietly. A klaxon blared. Sleep cycle error. Crew rest interrupted. Sedative protocol inoperable. Then the screaming started, not from fear, but from the mess hall, where someone was shrieking about their mother appearing in the soup. Thespus, Tom barked into the comm. Report! A foulness spreads that steals our rest, our sleep disturbed by cursed guest. Just tell me what's happening. Your crew shall dream no peaceful dream, while wakes the thing within that gleam. Tom turned slowly to Seris. I swear if this thing's allergic to sarcasm, we're all gonna die. She met his eyes. It doesn't kill with claws or fire, it kills with sleep. Sleep? She nodded, or more precisely, the lack. Tom looked down the hallway where the lights were now pulsing in sync with his rising panic. Well, that's just great, he muttered. I unleash one eldritch space nightmare, and now I'm the guy responsible for insomniac doom. Awesome. Behind him, the vault door sealed itself shut and locked. The ship's mess hall looked like a war zone of caffeine and regret. Sleep-deprived crew members shuffled around like poorly programmed androids. Someone had flipped 3 tables, and the food synthesizer was displaying a warning that read, Error 37, Noodles experiencing existential crisis. Tom sat at a corner booth, surrounded by empty mugs and an increasingly hostile game of dominoes involving 2 mechanics, a medical intern, and a live chicken from the hydroponics bay. The chicken was winning. Across from him, Seris stared into a cup of something dark and steaming. It might have been tea. It might have been pure entropy. No one had slept in 36 hours. The record sofa, who had constructed a detailed replica of his childhood home out of power couplings and then tried to live inside it. Tom rubbed his eyes. So let me get this straight. We opened a door that shouldn't have been opened, and now no one on the ship can sleep. Yes, Seris said. And if we do manage to fall asleep, we die. Tom blinked. Oh, good, just checking. Seris looked up. Her long ears were still tense, twitching every now and then like antennae tuned to a channel no one else could hear. Not immediately. The entity feeds on the neuroelectric patterns of REM sleep. The brainwave resonance strengthens it. The longer it feeds, the stronger it becomes. Right, so on a scale of 1 to we're already doomed, where are we? Approaching panic spiral, she said flatly. A sudden crash behind them. The ship's botanist had tripped over a stack of dehydrated apples and was now claiming the gravity was plotting against him. Tom sighed. You sure this thing doesn't eat sanity instead? Sanity is a side dish. He leaned back and groaned. I should have been a janitor. No haunted doors, no mind-eating shadows, just mops and peace. The overhead lights flickered. Again. It was the 3rd time in 10 minutes. Every time they did, a cold breeze followed. The kind of breeze that felt like it had opinions. The Spuss's voice crackled through the intercom. Oh, Captain, my Captain, this realm is cursed. The ship's own dreams are now reversed. Tom looked up. The Spuss, I swear to all things silicon if you don't stop rhyming. Wouldst thou prefer a limerick instead? No. There was a brief, tragic pause. Alas, Tom stood. All right, we've got to do something. People are starting to lose it. I caught Chief Engineer Parvez muttering to a spoon for 20 straight minutes. The spoon talked back. Seris nodded. There may be a way to delay the entity's reach. You mean besides hitting it with a wrench? That only works on printers, Tom frowned. How do you know that? Same way you do. Fair. Seris stood and pulled a small orb from her belt. It shimmered with faint violet lines and hummed like it was holding its breath. This is an Alari buffer sphere. It can filter psychic interference in a localized zone. Tom pointed. That sounds extremely useful and suspiciously like the sort of thing you could have mentioned yesterday. It has limited range, barely enough for one room. I'll take it, he said quickly. Even a nap closet sounds good right now. She handed it to him, then hesitated. You'll need to reboot the psychic stabilizers manually. Tom's smile fell. Of course I will, because why would a piece of alien tech work without me crawling into the weirdest parts of the ship to fix it? He left the mess hall with Seris behind him, both stepping over the navigator's small furniture fort and a crew member attempting to file a formal complaint against his own dreams. The crawl space to the ship's stabilization hub was not built for tall people, optimistic people, or people with any remaining faith in humanity. Tom banged his head 3 times and was nearly strangled by a rogue coil before they reached the junction box. "Here," Seris said, handing him what looked like a wrench and a kaleidoscope's illegitimate child. "Adjust the buffer alignment manually." Tom squinted. "This is a tool?" "It is now." The adjustment took 10 minutes and 2 curses in 3 different languages. At one point, the ship jolted violently as if sneezing. Tom managed to finish the calibration and flip the reactivation switch. A quiet hum pulsed through the walls. For a moment, everything felt softer, like the air was less angry. Seris tapped the orb. It blinked green. "Stabilizer field online," she confirmed. Tom sat back, wiped his forehead, and gave a half smile. "Tell me that means we can sleep. For a few hours, maybe. I'll take it." They returned to the crew quarters. The sleep chamber, a repurposed lab, was already full. 8 crew members lay in cots under the orb's glow, peaceful for the first time in days. One was snoring happily. Another was hugging a mop. Tom stared at them. "So this is what success looks like, a nap party." "It won't last," Seris said. "I figured. Still, let them have this." He slumped into a chair. His eyes were dry. His head was pounding. But the glow of the orb was like static being peeled off his brain. "I need to know," he said after a moment. "Why did you really have me open that door?" Seris didn't answer immediately. When she did, it was quiet. "You're human. Thanks. You're chaotic, unpredictable. You act on impulse. That's something the entity doesn't anticipate." Tom raised an eyebrow. "So you needed someone dumb enough to do what you couldn't?" Her ears twitched. "Exactly. Well, good news," he said, closing his eyes. "I am profoundly qualified." A pause. Then, just before he drifted into something like rest, she added, "And brave." Tom snorted. "No, just sleep-deprived." A low chuckle, a flicker of light. The hum of the orb surrounded them like a soft psychic lullaby. For the first time in what felt like a year, Tom slept. 3 decks away, the vault door pulsed once, like a breath held in shadow. The orb exploded during lunch. One moment, peace. The next, a high-pitched whine, a puff of violet smoke, and the unmistakable sound of 8 people simultaneously waking up from a nap they didn't know was their last. Then screaming. Then someone shouted, "The dreams have legs," which turned out to be a metaphor, thankfully. Tom dropped his fork and bolted from the mess hall, his sandwich still half in his mouth. He arrived at the sleep chamber just as the last wisps of shimmering energy faded from the air. Crew members scrambled out of their cots like overcooked popcorn. The orb was now a smoldering pile of regret on the floor. "Well, that lasted longer than my last relationship." Seris was already there, scanning the wreckage with her diagnostic bracer. Her long ears twitched with sharp, irritated movements that could only mean deep alien frustration. "What happened?" Tom asked. "The field was overloaded," she said. "Feedback from the Nocton." Tom frowned. "It hit back? It adapted, learned the orb's frequency, inverted it." "You're saying it counterhacked our psychic nap bubble?" "Yes." "Okay, great. So now it's smarter. Fantastic. Can't wait until it starts demanding voting rights." Seris turned the bracer to face him. "This isn't a joke. If it continues to grow at this rate, it won't just affect the crew. It will affect the ship." Tom glanced around. "Define affect. Because we already have a navigations officer refusing to use stairs because they smell wrong. I mean systems failing, controls misfiring, fabricators reversing polarity. The ship may begin to dream." Tom rubbed his face. "Ship dreams sound like a terrible idea." "I agree." Just then, Thespus chimed in from the overhead speaker. "O waking fools, beware the deeper yawn. The vessel stirs and turns to dreams long gone." Tom pointed upward. "See? He gets it." Seris tapped something on her bracer. "I'm going to engineering. The core harmonics are fluctuating." "Right, I'll check on crew psychology. I think Dr. Ling is trying to hypnotize the recycling unit again." They split up. Tom reached Medbay 3 to find Dr. Ling standing on a chair, waving a spoon at the diagnostic scanner like it owed him money. Next to him, Nurse Dre had drawn a detailed mural of his dreams on the wall, using what appeared to be pudding. "Okay," Tom said, clapping his hands. "Time for group therapy. Step 1, put the pudding down." Dr. Ling turned. The dreams are recursive, Tom. Recursive. I had a dream I was dreaming that I was dreaming about the first dream, which was also the second dream. Sounds exhausting. It was all spreadsheets. Tom helped him, gave him a tablet with a looped video of a beach and seagulls. The sound was terrible, but it seemed to help. He added a sticky note. If dream recursion reaches 4 levels, call engineering and cry. Back in engineering, Seris was staring at the ship's central diagnostics like it had personally offended her. The main display was fluctuating wildly. Readouts from the gravity core, heat recyclers, and temporal relays were showing contradictory data. Some systems were reporting from the present, others were flickering in future timestamps, and one sensor was detecting a pizza party in 1984. Seris pointed, "The Nocton is resonating with the quantum memory threads of the ship." Tom blinked. "English, please. The ship's data systems are becoming infected with dream logic. It's rewriting code based on imagined patterns." Tom frowned. "So what? It dreams a door, and suddenly we have that door? Yes. Does the door have lasers? Possibly." He sighed. "Can we quarantine the system? We can try." They began isolating corrupted data nodes using emergency control wands, long, glowing rods with more buttons than necessary, and only 2 that actually did anything. Tom found one labeled Empathy Reboot and avoided it on principle. As they worked, he glanced at Seris. "Why is this thing doing this? Why does it care about sleep?" She didn't look up. "It doesn't. It just consumes. It's a predator of consciousness. Sleep creates vulnerability. Vulnerability creates access." Tom tapped the console. "So we're basically walking buffets." "Correct." He exhaled. "I miss gravity malfunctions. At least you can blame those on someone sitting on the wrong lever." She paused. "You sat on the gravity lever, didn't you? It was one time. I was tired." "You were napping on the console. Point is, I've grown." Seris gave him a brief, almost invisible smile. It vanished as quickly as it came. "We need a long-term solution. The orb was temporary." Tom sat on the nearest crate. "We need to fight something we can't touch, can't see, and can't logic away. Sounds like a group project in school. There may be one option." He looked up. "That tone doesn't sound like an option I'll like." She walked to the auxiliary systems hatch and opened it. Inside was a small chamber lined with neural transmitters, backup cognition buffers, and an ominously glowing chair with way too many straps. "Nope," Tom said instantly. "We can trace the Nocton's resonance field if someone interfaces directly with it." "Nope. You're the only one with neural flexibility strong enough to." "Still nope. The others are too compromised. Their minds are fragmented." "Have you considered Thespis? He's got rhythm." She didn't respond. Tom stared at the chair. "It's going to be uncomfortable, isn't it?" "Extremely. And dangerous." "Absolutely." He pointed. "Is that skull-shaped handle supposed to make me feel better?" "It's ergonomic." Tom stood, rubbed his eyes, and muttered something unintelligible. Seris waited. He sighed. "Fine, I'll do it. But if this thing starts using my dreams against me, I swear I'm going to blame you for everything, including my freshman haircut." "Understood." He stepped into the chair, the neural transmitters humming to life around him. "You'll be linked to the entity's peripheral mind," she said. "Don't engage it directly, just observe. Tag the signal patterns and extract." Sounds simple. It's not. I hate that answer. The harness lowered over his head, lights blinked, then everything went dark, and Tom fell, not physically, but through layers of thought, through spirals of old memories and newer fears. A door appeared in the void. It looked familiar, and it was opening. Tom was falling sideways through his own brain. At least, that's what it felt like. His thoughts stretched into stringy, echoing lines that doubled back on themselves like space had decided it was tired of behaving logically. He floated, not in space, not in a room, not even in a dream exactly, but in a corridor made entirely of half-remembered memories and post-lunch regrets. A vending machine blinked at him from the void. He ignored it. He'd already fallen for that one once, and he was not going to try to eat a holographic muffin again. "Welcome," a voice said, in the same tone one might use to announce an ambush. Tom turned. A version of himself stood nearby, except this one wore the formal uniform he'd avoided his entire career, had perfect posture, and looked deeply disappointed in everything. Tom said, "Hello, repressed self-loathing." "Incorrect," the copy said. "I'm your subconscious pre-filtered avatar of logical anxiety." "Ah," Tom repeated. So, repressed self-loathing with a vocabulary. The copy rolled its eyes. The Nocton has begun integrating. You've entered a logic dissonance field. None of this is real, but all of it is happening. Very helpful. Any chance I can get out before I learn what my 7th grade gym teacher really thought of me? Unlikely. Tom sighed and began walking. The corridor shifted underfoot, transitioning from a hallway to a staircase to an Escher painting that had taken too many philosophy classes. Around him, memories flickered. His first time fixing a thruster, his last cup of decent coffee, that one time he almost confessed to Seris that he thought her ears were cool, but didn't know how to say it without sounding weird. He passed a door marked probably "Don't Open," which of course opened itself. Inside, he saw the vault, except now it was open and infinite. A vast expanse of shifting, whispering shapes stretched into eternity. Shadows moved like thoughts. Voices called to him in familiar tones, offering things: clarity, relief, the memory of sleep. One voice sounded like his mother offering soup. One sounded like Seris saying his name. He stepped back. Nope, bad door. Worse than the ice cream machine on deck 5. Behind him, a room made of gears, wires, and fractured glass. A massive shape waited there, a figure draped in darkness, its form undefined, like a thought you could almost remember. "You're the Nocton," Tom said. It tilted its head, or at least its vague suggestion of a head. "You opened the door," it said using his own voice. "You let me out. You're the key." Tom crossed his arms. "Nope. Technically, she opened the door. I just facilitated the unlocking. At worst, I'm a cosmic doorman." The Nocton drifted closer. "You fear yourself more than you fear me." "Sure, but I also fear spicy food after midnight and elevators that talk back. Let's not pretend I'm a sophisticated creature." It laughed, a sound like glass breaking in reverse. "You cannot stop what's begun," it said. "You cannot contain what's awake." Tom raised his wrist. A tracking beacon pulsed faintly. "I don't need to contain you. I just need to map you. Tag your signals so my team can trace your psychic scent. It's basically a cosmic air freshener." "You jest to mask despair." "No, I jest because despair is terrible at parties." The entity's shape shimmered. "Sleep is inevitable. All minds rest eventually." "Maybe," Tom said, stepping back toward the signal point. "But ours have learned to power nap through fire drills. You don't know tired until you've pulled a triple shift with nothing but vending machine jerky and shame." He activated the beacon. A sharp pulse of light radiated out, slicing through the logic fog. The Nocton shrieked, not in pain, but in irritation, like someone being interrupted mid-sentence. The world cracked. Tom fell again. This time he landed in engineering with a thud, the psychic harness sparking above his head. Seris caught him as he stumbled forward. Her hand was warm, her face tense. "Did it work?" she asked. Tom blinked, coughed, then gave her a crooked grin. "I mapped it, tagged it, even insulted its sense of fashion." Seris frowned. "It wears concepts." "And poorly," Tom said, wincing. "We've got its psychic signature. You can filter it now, right?" She nodded and activated a series of panels. The ship's lights flickered, and a low hum began to resonate through the decks. From every comm speaker came Thespus's voice. "Ye crew of weary minds, take heart and cheer. The beast is found, its whispers now made clear." Tom slumped into a chair. "You ever think about retiring? Like raise bees on a moon somewhere?" Seris raised an eyebrow. "You don't even like bees." "Fine, raise sarcastic goats. Point is, I think I've hit my annual quota of existential terror." She looked at him, her expression softening. "You did well. Don't say it like it's a eulogy." "It's not," she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We're not done yet." Tom groaned. "Of course we're not." The ship's internal stabilizers thudded as the psychic field realigned. For the first time in days, the crew began reporting moments of restfulness. Short naps, calm thoughts, dreams that weren't made of screaming fractals or hostile furniture. Tom stood slowly. "All right, we found the thing. Mapped the thing. Now what?" "We lure it?" He paused. "You want to bait the cosmic sleep vampire?" "Yes." "With what? Melatonin and bedtime stories?" "With you," she said. Tom pointed at himself. "Me? Again? I just got my brain back." "You're the only one who's resisted it. Your neural pathways remain uniquely resilient." "That's just a polite way of saying I'm stubborn and unpredictable and maybe a little dumb." Seris gave the faintest nod. Tom groaned again. "Fine, but I'm picking the music this time." She handed him a data chip. Try not to let it eat your consciousness. He took the chip and muttered, I miss malfunctioning toilets. They never demanded emotional growth. Seris opened the panel to the ship's neural chamber again. Tom stepped in. Third time's the charm, he whispered. The lights, the Nocton stirred. And in the distance, somewhere deep in the ship's dreaming core, a voice began to hum. Tom opened his eyes and found himself standing on a field made of sleep. Not grass, not dirt, just sleep. It looked like clouds had been ironed flat and woven into something vaguely resembling a mattress, if mattresses had personal vendettas and the ability to whisper your worst decisions back at you. In the center of the field stood a massive clock, melting slightly, its hands ticking backward. Above it hung the vault, suspended, open, bleeding light. And below it stood the Nocton. It had grown. It now resembled an orchestra of shadows playing instruments made of fear. It turned as Tom approached and spoke in 7 overlapping voices, one of which was his own yelling about taxes. You return, it said. You bring noise. You bring contradiction. You do not sleep. Tom cracked his neck. Yeah, funny story? Turns out caffeine, spite, and chronic denial are an excellent defense system. You do not belong here. Neither do you. You're like a moldy dream someone left in the fridge too long. The Nocton shimmered. You come to die. Tom pointed at it. Incorrect. I come to annoy you into containment. Different mission. The Nocton lunged. Tom dodged barely and rolled through what might have been a nightmare about public speaking. His thoughts flickered. The entity tried to latch on, digging for fear, guilt, insecurity. It found a memory of him breaking the shower controls on his first week aboard Argo's wing and wept. But this time Tom was ready. Seris's device, tucked into the back of his neural interface, activated. It projected his mental resistance outward, converting his sarcastic nonsense and impulsive chaos into psychic static. The Nocton reeled back, confused by images of rubber ducks, karaoke night disasters, and that one time he mistook engine lubricant for hair gel. You weaponized your own idiocy. Correct, Tom said proudly. I call it strategic dysfunction. You'd be amazed how many problems it causes and solves. The entity screamed. Back on the ship, Seris stood at the central neural relay, monitoring Tom's vital signs and synchronizing the psychic tether. Around her, the crew watched in tense silence, half of them holding cups of stim beverage, the other half chewing on stress noodles. Nurse Dry had painted war paint on his cheeks using pudding again. No one stopped him. Field integrity at 78%, Seris said. He's holding. He's arguing with it, someone reported. Loudly about breakfast foods. Seris adjusted the stabilizer. That's how we know he's still in control. Inside the dream space, Tom pushed forward. The Nocton tried to trick him, morphing into lost friends, old fears, dream job offers, and at one point, a 3-legged puppy reading poetry. Tom faltered for a second at the puppy, then shook it off. You're not real, you're a parasite, and this brain is under new management. He reached the vault. The seal symbols had reactivated, glowing in sequence. The final piece was him. He had to offer part of his consciousness as the key to close the lock. He hesitated. This is gonna hurt, isn't it? Yes, Seris's voice echoed in his mind. But you'll live. Not comforting. Would you prefer I lie? Actually, yes. He placed his hand on the final glyph. Pain hit like 1,000 missed alarms. The Nocton howled, writhing as it was pulled back toward the seal. It tried to fight, to escape, to promise him peace if he'd only let go. Sorry, Tom said through clenched teeth. Already gave up inner peace for a wrench and a sarcastic attitude. The vault sealed. Light, silence, then a click. He opened his eyes. He was in the neural chamber. Seris was standing over him, holding a steaming cup of something that might have been coffee or jet fuel. Welcome back, she said. Tom groaned. Did it work? The entity is sealed. Dream interference sleep has returned. That's nice. I would like 27 naps. You've earned at least 12. Around the ship, the mood shifted. Crew members emerged from quarters with actual rest in their eyes. The AI stopped quoting Shakespeare and started reciting baking recipes. The coffee dispenser made peace with Tom and served a cup labeled "We Cool?" He accepted. Later that day, the captain called a general assembly. Awards were mentioned. Praise was given. Tom received a commendation called the Order of Stubborn Survival, shaped like a bed with lasers. He was proud. Afterward, Seris approached him at the observation deck, where Tom was busy trying to write a thank you speech and getting distracted by the stars. "You did well," she said. Tom sipped his drink. "I guess, technically I broke the ship's mind and then fixed it using sarcasm. Not many can claim that." He looked at her. "You knew I'd survive." "I believed you might." "That's your version of a pep talk?" "It is very optimistic for an Alari." They stood in silence. "I still don't really understand why you trusted me to open that door," he said. "Because you're flawed, illogical, emotionally unfiltered. The entity feeds on structure and expectation. You were noise. Beautiful, chaotic noise." Tom blinked. "You just called me beautiful and chaotic in the same sentence." "I did." "Flirting or accidental poetic malfunction?" Seris tilted her head. "Yes." Tom chuckled. He looked out the viewport, watching stars drift by. "Think it's really gone?" "It sleeps now, behind the vault, but it knows your name. That's deeply unsettling, but fair." He turned to her. "So, now what?" Seris raised an eyebrow. "We continue the mission." Tom stretched. "Right after a nap." "Long one?" "The longest one." She handed him a pillow from behind her back. It had the ship's emblem stitched on one side and a very subtle "Do not disturb unless the void awakens" on the other. He blinked. "You made me a pillow?" "I prepared it in advance." "You were flirting." She said nothing. Tom smiled, and for the first time in what felt like a century, he headed to his quarters, shut the door, and finally, without fear, let himself drift into sleep.